On the road outside the window, cars rarely passed by, turning the next corner or stopping right next to the sidewalk, turning off all the lights. However, this is of little interest to me, a skinny 25-year-old sociophobe who sits at home all day long and only occasionally leaves the musty apartment. Then relatives manage to persuade me to leave my abode. Then the groceries run out in the refrigerator. Then again the women organize scandals under my unfortunate window. By the way, about my window is located this half-rotten wooden frame with glass opposite my bed at a distance of about half a meter. If someone sneaks past it, then, accordingly, the shadow of this someone will pass right over my bed, scaring me away, if my eyes are not closed, but stared at the ceiling or the wall to which my bed is pushed. I forgot to mention that I live on the first floor, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised that in front of my window there is some kind of protection from thieves, an iron barrier, rusted in some places, covered with dried and falling off white paint. Well, I've described the basic details, and now it's worth telling you about something that makes my blood run cold. It started last month. I suddenly started having insomnia. I went to many doctors in my city, spending my last money on medicines. Sleeping pills, hard-to-pronounce names of all sorts of drugs, and even supposedly magical aromatic herbs, of which if you make a tincture, then sleep will instantly take over the mind. None of this worked. I managed to fall asleep in the morning, at 4 o'clock. Before that, I just stared out the window from my bed, trying to count the number of stars. By the way, I counted 30 luminous celestial. In general, I accepted this disease and stopped trying to get rid of it. Besides, what's the big deal? I'm not working anyway. No girlfriend, no pets too. I eat little. I'm not interested in anything, and I'm only interested in my computer, where I hang out either in games or in social networks. It would seem that insomnia, that's all. And why these descriptions that clutter up my memory so much? I honestly don't know. Somehow I think that describing all this will make me feel incomparably better. By the way, a week or two ago, if not earlier, I had another problem. And it makes my blood run cold. It's him. He shows up every night at exactly 1 o'clock. I don't hear any footsteps, no rustles, no noises or any other sounds before he arrives. Only two things give away his arrival: heavy, hoarse breathing and a knock, a tap on the glass. His bony finger taps faintly on my decrepit window, making that maddening sound. His face is usually invisible, the hood hides his outline, and the dim light of the street lamp only makes it clear that he is not transparent and is actually standing there in front of the window. Outside, his first appearance caused me a storm of emotions. First I was shocked and didn't know what to do. Then I wanted to chase him away by going outside and teaching him manners. And you know why I didn't? Simply because a second later came the most important emotion: fear. I pressed myself into the bed, looking at the night guest, and it seemed that my heart was beating only when he was beating, creating a kind of ominous duet. I was afraid to move a finger and just watched silently as his long finger with unnatural curves beat on the window. A transparent vapor film appeared on the glass where his face was approximately. Subconsciously, it seemed to me that he was watching me closely and knew that I was frightened. The next night the moon shone especially bright, and when he reappeared, I could catch the approximate outline of his face. An eerie and blood-chilling grin up to his ears, revealing a row of sharp and yellow teeth, no lips or nose, and eyes staring straight into your soul in the worst sense of the word. Little beady beads in equally small eye sockets stared at me with an unblinking gaze. In all the time he was staring at me, not one eyeball moved. That face was memorized for a very long time. Even now, as I write these lines, it seems to me that if I listen, I can hear that knock again, and with it a heavy, hoarse breathing, and if I look out the window, I will see this creature again. Only this time it wouldn't be behind the framed glass, but in the reflection, behind my back. That thing visited me for a week. I was terrified every time it came to me. On the third night, I turned away from the window and with bated breath began listening to the guest knocking again. The knocking was more intense and aggressive, as if he was angry that I wasn't looking at him anymore. But I didn't last 10 minutes. Fear did its thing. I turned to the window and, trying not to catch a glimpse of the creature's face, examined the frame of the window. I can't remember how I fell asleep. My memories are jumbled together, and I can't remember almost any of the endings of the nights I spent face to face with my nocturnal guest, rather than with my back to him. I can't explain it, and why should I? It's all very clear. Besides, on the 5th night I realized that he wanted me to look at him and watch his bony finger tapping on my window, making that disgusting sound. And so another sleepless night. The time was 2 a.m. I was determined to boycott this nocturnal visitor who every night made me huddle in bed and pray for it to end. Wrapped in my blanket, I turned my face to the wall and waited for him to come. And then came the first knock. A quiet knock as if to say, "I'm here, turn around." Then came another, more aggressive one. "You're angry, aren't you?" I asked him in my mind. In response, a loud bang came to me. By the way, as soon as the sound started, I noticed that my bedroom began to smell strangely rotten, as if something had been lying in one place for days and had turned into a gnarled, shapeless mass, giving off this nauseating odor. The knocking echoed resoundingly in my head, bouncing off my mind and coming back like a ball, making me twitch and swallow the comas lodged in my throat. I was afraid that the glass would not withstand the blows, and I wanted to give a weakness and turn to the window, but my muscles, as if mastering my own mind, did not obey me, and my intuition strongly sounded the alarm, saying, "Don't do it, boy, don't do it." I decided to obey my body's orders and listen to the knocking, becoming more aggressive time after time, breaking the silence in the room. Of course, sepulchral silence sounds like an exaggeration. The heavy breathing of the creature broke it more often than the knocks themselves. As soon as the guest disappeared and all the sounds ended, sleep enshrined me in its sweet embrace, plunging me into unconsciousness. I did it! Flew through my head before my consciousness drifted into the realm of Morpheus. I woke up at 1 p.m. My head was buzzing and my mouth was dry. If I had money, I would move out of here, I swore, getting up with sour eyes from the bed, and then went to the kitchen for a glass of water. When the glass with the desired liquid was in my hand, half of which I immediately drank, and my eyes were able to see, the events of the previous night flashed before my eyes. The fear I had felt then pulsed through my body, and the drowsiness faded away. Deciding to think about my further actions during the next night at the computer, I headed to my room where it was, in fact, in my room. When the computer was already a meter away from me, my gaze fell on the area of the floor in front of the window. A scream stuck in my throat and the water glass flew out of my hands and shattered on the floor. The cause of the incomprehensible odor was now clear. There were dirty footprints right in front of my window, as if someone had been standing there. What if I had turned around that night? That's what it could be, but it brings fear.